Hello, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. Welcome to our first one-shot in a while, actually. I think the last one was all the way back in August, I want to say, Hell Night. So it's been a little while, longer than we usually leave it. But today, we return to the one-shot domain to play some GROK. That's this. It's a lovely little indie TTRPG, kind of zine style from Lester Burton. I don't think it's published by anyone beyond that. And also, I do genuinely want to talk about the art in this by Matias Viro. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, because it's great. Look at that. And you saw some of it at the beginning, edited together by our lovely asset tyrant, Steve. So there we go. Before I start bringing people on and talking about the system and start playing the game and stuff like that, as per usual, it's a case of doing a little bit of promo. If you check down below this video, you'll see a bunch of links to YouTube and to Twitch. That's where we host all of our stuff. We are live on Twitch, and then it all goes on YouTube within a few days after that. There's also links to our Patreon, to our Discord, to our social media. If those are things that interest you, then give them a go. There will also very soon be a link to our new merch store, if you're interested in that kind of thing. We currently run a number of weekly games over on Twitch, he says, while streaming live on Twitch. On Twitch, Mondays is currently Vason, Wednesdays is Simbroom, long-running kind of flagship series. Thursdays is alternating in spirit, but one of the systems is on a break. It's alternating between Wicked Ones and Big Wet, but Big Wet is just kind of on pause at the moment while life happens, but it will return sometime soon. And we also run one-shots about once a month. Usually, that's what this is. Hello. And obviously there's this GROK, and then our one shot for December is looking like it's going to be Johnny's long-awaited third installment of his Space Thulu saga, his kind of modern age Call of Cthulhu in space thing. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, I think that's all of the usual promo stuff. So you know what? I said I was going to kind of bring on people one by one, but you know, I'll actually bring everyone on first, so we can talk about GROK a bit. So I'll just add everyone. There we go. That's all of our players for today. We've got the delightful John, the magnificent Pierre, and the also here Steve. Steve is awesome. I'm just doing a bit. Yeah, how are we feeling today, folks?
The asset tyrant.
Do not upset the asset tyrant. I would never. I would never. Yeah, we all good? We all grokked up?
So grokked.
Is that allowed?
It does sound like
Drake
terminology, doesn't it? Yeah. It sounded like drug terminology when I said it, and when Pierre said it, it sounded like kind of Gen Z slang.
Yeah.
So grok.
I'm grokked out my mind.
See, that's just both. Okay. Let's talk a bit about GROK as I attempt to fend the cat who has been happily asleep in this position for the last 3 hours and woke up literally as we went live, away a bit. So, to give you the background on GROK, like I say, it's a little indie TTRPG. It's pretty rules light stuff. It uses a number of different sizes of dice. In against a kind of resolution or success table that's number dependent. So in other words, unless you do something about to make your roll better, if you have particularly small amount of dice in a stat, you're just kind of splat out of luck, baby. So there we go. But as for the setting of GROK, let me read out the lovely blurb on the back of the book. That's a good start, isn't it? And also a low effort one. So, GROK was once a haven for trans-dimensional migrants and a bastion of advanced technomancy until a cataclysm rendered it a desolate, hollow planet. Now, feral monstrosities haunt its chasms, cities float among the clouds, and a derelict space station encapsulates the planet and bathes the world in perpetual phosphorescent radiation. Yet a new era of enlightenment is dawning. Civilizations grow from the ashes, relics of immense power await those who would learn their lost secrets, and threats of caste warfare loom as leaders vie for power. All the while, a creeping black nothingness peeps up through the hollow of the world. So that's the kind of vibe described by its writer as gonzo science fantasy, which I agree with. That's definitely the vibe it's got. Look at that. Lovely. Yeah. And you know what? We're going to leap pretty much straight in. And what we're going to do is go around our little crew, and they can talk about their character a bit and also intro like where they are and what they're doing. And I've already told them it doesn't matter where they are or what they're doing. So, we'll see what happens. And let's start with Pierre as the fearless improv tyrant of the group. Pierre, tell us about Ferrous Charm.
Well, Ferrous Charm, in terms of appearance, is a quite unusually long-limbed, kind of sinewy, kind of very, very kind of pale. And the closer you get to him, the more it looks weird the way he's pale. His skin is semi-translucent, which means that you can see like parts of his nervous system and his bones sort of peeking out through his through the fog that is his skin. He wears like kind of ill-fitting, a kind of worn tunic with a big ridiculous tricorn hat and a pendant, an iron pendant around his neck. He obviously has a large and somewhat impractical cape that he enjoys sort of flapping around in a boisterous and ridiculous fashion. Right now, Ferrous Charm is he's also accompanied, I should say, by a extremely weary-looking torchbearer called Pitch, who carries his torch and maybe also some of his troubles. So right now, Pitch is extremely nervous looking because he is holding this torch, illuminating in this dark, cavernous mega hive that Ferrous finds himself in. The squirming larva of a sting squid, which are, I imagine, terrifying, enormous squid beasts. Ferrous is trying to steal this from the mega hive, while the sting squid queen slumbers in a temporary moment of vulnerability. And that's going pretty well so far. I don't think any of the sting squids have heard. So I'm feeling pretty good about this.
Sure. And exactly at the moment that Ferrous Charm is registering that he's feeling really good about this, a noise comes from down one of the darkened sort of side arteries of this hive.
Things.
Yeah. That sounds very much like...
That is not the noise you want to hear.
And I'm very tempted to put words in the mouth of Pitch purely to force you to do a voice for the rest of the session for Pitch.
Go for it.
Pitch exclaims, "Oh my lord, we have to get out of here!"
Yes, Pitch, I think that's quite a good idea. And I snatch up one of the like writhing sting squid larva and attempt to run down a different artery from the one where I've heard this squelching, abominable noise. For every one of my steps, Pitch has to take like 4. He is much smaller than I am, and I am terrifyingly long-limbed.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's have a little demo of the dice system, shall we? So there's 3 stats in this game, very handily laid out, especially for those of us who are familiar with the storyteller system, as physical, mental, and social. And essentially, you have a die for each of them, right? Why don't you tell us what Ferrous's dice are for each of those?
Yeah, so Ferrous is physical. He's rolling a D12, which is the best. So he's incredibly physical. mental,
Yeah, he
he's
is.
rolling a d4, which is the worst. So,
Which is why he spammed himself in a sting squid hive.
that's why he thought that this was a workable plan at all. And social, this one it will surprise you, is also a d4 for Ferris.
Nice. Nice.
And we've worked out that d4 basically means that he will fail at nearly any mental or social attempt that he makes.
Yeah.
It's
Unless there is a system for making effort, which
Yes.
essentially via the terms of the game kind of harms yourself in order to double the dice. Like rather than d4, you'll essentially roll 2d4 and add them together.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't you see how swiftly you manage to escape the vengeance of the sting squids by rolling that d12? And the way this works essentially is a roll of 1 to 4 is a no and. So, you don't manage to achieve what you want to achieve and there's consequences. 5 to 9 is yes, basically as intended. And 10 plus is yes and. So you've achieved it, but also other good stuff might happen.
Yeah.
That's it. We just explain the rules of the game, basically.
So on my d12, I just rolled a 4, which is no and.
No and. Okay. So what happens is as you're kind of like, swiftly bounding down, I think you described them as kind of like a kind of beehive, right?
Yeah.
Like a hexagonal sort of thing. It's kind of twisting and turning. And as you kind of round a corner, hoping to see daylight, instead, all you see is a mass of shadowy tentacles with horrible curved dripping hooks on the end of them, writhing in a mass ahead of you. You can hear the like slurping of the squid moving up behind you from the central chamber, and then you can also hear Pitch like like huffing and puffing coming to a halt behind you. He kind of glances up to see what you see and goes, "Oh, bollocks!" And then both of you feel an odd vibration and a terribly loud buzzing sound washes over both of you. The vibration starts off as a kind of like you're in a tremor, but swiftly becomes apparent that it is you who is vibrating. And not your entire body, but every little component bit of your body is vibrating all at once. It's not pleasant by any stretch of the imagination, but you can't help but feel maybe slightly relieved as the vibration reaches its peak just as the sting squids lash their tentacles out for you, and you are all of a sudden very much not in the sting squid hive. Who's going next? Let's have John, shall we? John, describe your character, where they are, what they're doing, all that good stuff.
Tamaron Meek is he's dressed in the ragged and worn out remains of a scholar's robe. Within the collar is embroidered the name Rosa Maggette, because he probably bought them or acquired them secondhand. He is generally unsettled, very rarely still, and very weirdly proportioned. Like, he's a bit, it's not just that he's tall, he's a bit tall and a bit long, and his fingers are unsettlingly spindly, and like the hem of the robe ends like slightly too high on his leg. We join him scurrying through the corridors of the massive, encompassing space station above the planet of GROK, the simulacrum, which is a word that I will have to think about every time I say it. We find
Someone didn't play First Edition Magic the Gathering.
I mean, unless First Edition Magic the Gathering had like voice hints on it, then I don't think that would have helped me.
That's fair.
We find him scurrying through the tunnels of the massive hexagonal living sections of the simulacrum, throwing glances over his shoulder and decidedly not fleeing from something he may or may not have been involved in, because fleeing is suspicious, but he is walking very hurriedly away from something.
Yeah, something that the semi-sentient computer intelligence Al, who runs Simulacrum, may or may not be annoyed that you may or may not have been participating in.
Yes, that is exactly right.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? You, as you're kind of like very casually walking down
So
the
casual.
corridors of Simulacrum, you happen across a corridor, as sometimes happens, which is mostly made up of extremely bright light panels, almost blindingly so, to the point where if you make your way down it, you probably won't be able to tell whether some of the panels are cracked and therefore may be likely to break open and land you in some kind of horrible gas tube, or possibly like a deconstructed area of the station where you might fall to your doom, or simply open up to the horrid void of space. So it's definitely a bit of a risk. But at the same time, you can hear the heavy boots and truncheons start their work some distance behind you as the authority friends of Al start to re-educate some of your peers. So it's up to you whether you want to brave, joining your friends again, or making a run for it down this light corridor.
Well, I almost feel like if I didn't trust this incredibly haphazard corridor, then that would be showing some sort of lack of faith in the integrity of the station, and also, taking a longer route. This is where I would go if I wasn't trying to hurriedly get away from something. So I'm
Exactly.
gonna go down the scary, haphazard, bright corridor.
Absolutely.
Like I
And
normally
you know what?
would.
I think you've got a choice here. You can choose to like sort of trust your instincts and a bit more and kind of go with physical, or you can roll mental for it instead to try and figure out where there may or may not be like, dangerous breaks in the surface of these panels.
I'm going to go for mental.
Okay.
So I'm going to sort of.
What is that for you out of interest?
That is a D8.
Okay, not too bad. 50-50.
I rolled a 1.
Great. So John will be off to re-roll a new character. No. Yeah, you're pretty sure you figured out the way, and there can't possibly be any horrible gaping cracks in the light panels ahead of you as you kind of skip your way casually, in inverted commas, down and away from the increasing thumps and cries of pain behind you. And then, unfortunately, you have just the briefest of moments to consider that you may have calculated this wrong, as you feel yourself tipping forward, as shards of thick plastic break apart under your feet. You drop down through what seems like a kind of inky blackness for a number of seconds, and you just basically have time to wonder how far you might fall before you're suddenly very much not falling at all, before you start to feel an odd vibration and hear an odd buzzing noise. Steve, tell us about Myrtle Skyclark, please.
Okay. So yes, we open up, I guess, with Myrtle. Is a pretty gaunt figure, wrapped up in robes, sort of robes, but they're essentially, they look like they're made out of sackcloth. He doesn't look like a particularly wealthy individual. He's dragging this cart. It's full of rather sad-looking turnips, some of which might have been nibbled on by something. He's dragging them from his rather sad-looking shack. There's a small shed by well, it's not really a lake as such. It's more of a fetid pond, and he's dragging these turnips to the local sort of what passes for civilization to try to make some coin so that he can eat. Yes, in terms of GROK's character design, he is a hermit philosophist. So yes, that's where he is, what he's doing. He's not particularly happy. Oh, mute.
You might have said this and I might have missed it, but what kind of environment is he in? Kind of
Yes.
wasteland? Are you on an island?
This is on an island. He's an islander, so yes, this is one of the floating islands of GROK that yes were created after the cataclysm.
Sure. And how about we say that you're kind of like making your way through? It's quite maybe dark. Maybe the light from the simulacrum above is for some reason quite dimmed at this point in time, which is probably a good thing because it's far less likely to be, rending your DNA apart. But what's less enjoyable and less of a good thing is that you're making your way through quite a sort of dark and foresty area. That you're almost certain wasn't this dark and foresty when you came through here about 2 days ago. But the island you're currently on tends to have odd growth spurts at odd times, and this does seem to be one of them. And it being dark isn't good. The sudden kind of forested area that you're dragging the wagon through is obviously not great. But what's really maybe bad is the slightly alarming rustling noises that have been following you for the last half hour or so, accompanied by the occasional. It could be a squeal or it could be a giggle, and you're not happy with either.
Well, yes, Myrtle isn't particularly. Yes, he's not thrilled by this situation. But then again, neither is he particularly surprised. So he'll sigh inwardly and try and drag his cart a little faster, I think.
Sure. Well inured to misery is Myrtle Skyclark. That's going to be a physical roll to see how fast you can drag.
Lovely.
That.
Well, Myrtle's stats are physical is D6, mental is D10, and social is D4. So D6 coming up. This is great. This bodes really well. I also rolled a 1.
Nice. It's worth noting, by the way, that if you feel there is advantage and disadvantage in this game, and if you feel like any of the traits that you have or any of the assets that you have give you an advantage or a disadvantage, you can kind of argue that and will be granted it or not, depending on how benevolent I'm feeling. I would ask, by the way, that keep an eye on whether you think you'd have disadvantage as well, because being on stream, it is difficult for me to browse your sheets while we're doing this, but I'm sure you'll be incredibly rigorous and honest with that. So, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to say that in your struggle to get this kind of cart to move a bit faster, you've managed to get it stuck behind a rather large root system. That, I mean, definitely wasn't on this path when you came here, 2 days ago. So there's that. You don't have to wonder whether it's a squeal or a giggle anymore, because it's definitely both, and it's approaching faster.
I will look at this sad, annoying cart with rather meager turnips, and I guess again sigh and pick up my sackcloth robes and then leg it. I think
Leg it
as best I can.
Absolutely, and you hear the giggling squeals behind you turn to squeals of chomping delight as whatever it was but by the sound of it, is eating those turnips whole. So probably just as well you didn't stick around. You do have managed to trip and fall not far from where you ran away from the cart, and are kind of tumbling down this like root and tree-ridden hillside for a good 10 seconds or so before you register the vibration and the buzz and have enough time to think, what now? Before all three of you come to your senses, and not to flash back to other series on the channel, but each of you is enclosed in some kind of weird glass case.
Is Pitch with me in mine, or is Pitch in his
Yes.
own?
No. He's definitely with you in yours. And
Okay,
it's
so
quite... they're not big, so yeah, you're kind of a little bit...
Okay, I like slowly like you hear a sort of cracking of bones and like a weird fleshy noise, and like my limbs kind of shrink a little bit, just to accommodate more space. I am a changeling. This is my nature. So yeah, I try and sorry about that, Pitch. And then I guess he goes. Yes, I know you find it horrifying. It'll be okay. I've got a plan.
So, there are 4 cases in the chamber in which you found yourself. There is you 3, and there is another individual who looks sort of like a sad, melted elephant, wearing something akin to a kind of like a kind of like jogging, like a tracksuit, like jogging gear. He looks very unhappy to be here, and he's kind of like looking around and trumpeting some distress. But otherwise, the 3 of you can all see each other. You can also see where you are and the context of where you are rather handily, and I will explain why. You are in a vast kind of like semi-collapsing stone castle chamber, or that's the kind of feel of it. And you know it is a castle because directly in front of you is a sort of odd mechanical podium that has a kind of hologrammatic image of where you are. And if you look carefully, you can see a number of figures moving around this castle. You can see your little glass cases, and you can see little images of you in that. There are also mechanical podiums sat underneath each of your glass cases, the surface of which seems to be crackling with some kind of electricity. The castle, as you can see on the hologram, is almost larger than the island it sits on. The island hovering chaotically over the fractured landscape below, seemingly bobbing and weaving slightly, whether it's some crazy outside force or on kind of currents of air, you don't know. Most of the castle is tumble down, rambling, and cracked apart, but a central tower holds this vast chamber you're in. In these cases, being observed by a host of humans in soiled finery who are hooting and clapping and clearly delighted with your position. They're kind of dressed as sort of ancient nobles, but clearly given over to some kind of sickness and hunger. Around them lurch zombie-like corpses, themselves in even more ragged noble attire, with bits of their rotten frames dripping off occasionally. They seem humdrum servants bringing goblets of foul-looking wine and patched cushions on demand. Yeah, there's a woman in crimson and gold cloak of kind of intricate design but poor repair, who seems to be kind of like stood ahead of the rest of them and sort of fidgeting with the hologram of the castle. She kind of seems like the leader, maybe, but you don't entirely know. Either way, they seem more than happy to just kind of observe you and mock you in your cases for now.
Mm-hmm. I don't really. This is better than the mega hive, but I think it might be good if we got out of here. Pitch, can you reach the permeable pittons that I have in my pocket? Thanks, Pitch. Is Pitch squirming or moving or doing anything?
He is squirming, and
Breathing.
you're not sure it's in response to your orders.
Okay. I'll also try and like obtain these pittons
Sure.
from from inside of my cloak and see if I can I get them and access them and try and use them on the
Give me a let's do this advantage and disadvantage thing, right? Can you think of any reason why you'd have an advantage in this situation, given your like
constricted
your traits and your
I mean, I guess
assets?
I'm a changeling, and therefore I can possibly overcome some of the I was going to say the disadvantages. I'm kind of cramped in to test you with like one other person. The advantage is I'm a changeling, so I can hopefully change my shape.
And you know what? I think that adds up to one disadvantage.
Okay, so one disadvantage, and obviously I've got the permeable pittons, which is an advantage. So I don't know.
Well, no, because you're rolling to get them.
Okay, yeah. So I'm on one disadvantage. Is it a physical thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so the physical thing is I'm just rolling 2 dice and taking the worst, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Oh, well, one was an 8 and one was a 2, so I can't get them.
Yep. You think, unfortunately, that Pitch has them.
And I can't.
You can't kind of like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and he's not flexible enough to like.
He's got them secured in his pants, and he's in no position to do anything about anything right now.
Yeah. Is the sting squid larva with me? Does that? I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
I'm gonna roll a die for that.
Okay.
And you say I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I'd say in this specific circumstance, it's definitely a bad thing.
Yeah. Okay, I would imagine also a bad thing, but like I was holding out hope. I mean, it's good in the sense that they're very valuable.
Well, then I've got some relatively good news for you. A
Okay.
bit of the sting squid larva is in here with you.
Okay.
So if you could find someone to buy a good square foot of sting squid larva skin.
Okay. Do I get?
It's dripping a bit.
Are there any skin? Is there a stinger?
No. They don't have the sting. Pierre, you know that sting squids don't have their stings when they're just larva.
Look, Pierre knows, but Ferris doesn't. Ferris
sure,
is an idiot. Okay,
yeah,
you gotta bear with him.
Fine.
But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How about Termarin and Myrtle? Are they taking any particular action as you are roundly mocked by these fairly disgusting people?
How big are the cages? The cases? Like, I know Ferris was cramped, but that's Ferris and Pitch.
And there's 2 of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know, like 4 foot by 4 foot.
Okay.
Like that, and like maybe like a 6.5 foot high.
So just about enough room for me to throw myself to my knees.
Oh yeah, if you want to plead for your life, then you absolutely can. Yeah.
Yeah. I throw myself to my knees. I slap a couple of weirdly long hands against the glass, and I shout, "I'll I'm so sorry, Al. I didn't know what they were doing. I swear. Let me back in.
Okay, do you want to? I'm going to give you a social roll to see how this affects your captors, and I'm going to give it a straight up 2 disadvantages because they've got no fucking clue who Al is.
That's fine.
If you can think
so
of an
that is
advantage to balance that, then make your case.
No, I don't think I can think of anything.
Sure.
So that's 3 dice and take the worst, right?
Actually, you know what? I will actually change it. It's going to be the same. I'll change the explanation of that because I don't think any individual reason should have more than 1 disadvantage. So I'm going to say it's because they don't know who Al is, and also because they're heartless bastards.
That's fair. My worst is a 1. My best was a 6, but that doesn't matter.
Let me tell you, they really love this begging for your life thing. But probably not in the way you wanted them to.
Yeah.
Myrtle, are you also coming up with escape plans and or prostrating yourself pathetically?
So Myrtle will sort of, gaze around. First at this. It's like everybody seems to be elongated for some reason. I don't quite know why that would be.
It's the way to be.
As a
It's just the
lifelong
style
guy
of
of
the
just
time.
under as a lifelong guy of just under average height, Steve, I feel you.
So, Myrtle will look at this sort of squirming pair of people in one tube and this, genuflecting character in another. Sigh again, reach into his robes and pull out. He's got like a series of pamphlets, like self-penned. He's written them himself. They're sort of a bit dog-eared. This one is called "So You Think You've Got Problems." He's going to take out a pen and make some notes in it, put it away, and then fish out a fairly small device, which is it's cubic. This is a material transmuter. It's a prototype. Yes, Myrtle was a scientist in a previous life, so it's a prototype of his. It's not fully functional. It's kind of annoying. It annoys him. It pisses him off. It doesn't work as he intended it to, but it does transmute materials if they begin with the same letter.
Right.
So what he's going to do is he's going to scrape off some dirt from his robes that has collected from him rolling down that hillside, and try to transmute that into a diamond he can use to etch the wall of the.
Or even perhaps offer as
Oh yeah, sure, that would work. Yeah.
The reason in my head, I was like, he's going to take this dirt that he's got on him and turn it into a dog.
And then he'll just at least have a cat companion to deal with his depression.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that you see this transmuter is a pretty powerful device. I think every time you use it, it's going to take a mental roll to achieve exactly the result you want, right? And obviously, you don't get an advantage for having the transmuter. Otherwise, that would make no sense, right? But do you have any other advantages or disadvantages that you can think of from your particular setup?
I don't think so.
That's fine.
I'll be rolling a D10 for mental because
go ahead.
Science. Let's see how this goes. I rolled a 5.
Okay, there you go.
First success of the adventure.
It's like not a big clump of dirt, so it's not like a huge diamond or anything. But you've got like a little diamond, and it's like cut like a gem, right? So it's got a pointy end, and you can maybe do that. I mean, right now, these people are literally circling you, so they would definitely notice you doing it unless you manage to do it sneakily. But you got the start of a plan, right?
Yeah, and I'm hoping that all of the activity from the other 2 tubes might be drawing attention.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of other tubes causing attention, the fourth case with the kind of melty tracksuit elephant man in it, he starts kind of like thumping the sides of the case very firmly and sort of trumpeting loudly with his drooping trunk. And the woman in the crimson and gold fancy cloak sort of looks up a bit from this podium of machinery that the hologram is floating over, and sort of makes a little face at him and goes, "Well, then you'll do," and turns a dial on her little podium. Now, this week, I don't know if anyone out there is familiar with the YouTube channel Slow Mo Guys, but they featured slow-mo footage of gold in a zero pressure environment and what it does. And the word disintegration or annihilation they get bandied around a lot, right? But basically, this is what happens to the melty elephant man, in that there was a melty elephant man, and now there's a lot of variously colored paste gliding down the sides of the glass case. She turns the dial down and says, "Let that be a lesson to you." Meaning Q3, obviously.
And Pitch.
And well, Pitch doesn't know what's happening. Pitch's face is currently inserted 50% between your upper buttocks and lower back, so he's none the wiser. But that's probably for the best.
There's space.
It's exactly the kind of thing he would cause a fuss over.
Yeah, he's a bit of a whiner. That's would be my one criticism of Pitch as a hireling torchbearer.
Absolutely. The woman kind of like, as raucous like laughter and applause erupts from the other people in the castle, the woman kind of like rears up to a full height of maybe 5 feet or so, because she kind of can't straighten herself. She seems somewhat kind of oddly wizened and perhaps partly not alive, and says, "We have brought you here for a task, and you should be grateful that you have been picked."
Oh, a task, you say? And what would be the reward for such a task?
Not being brought back here and turned into that. She points at the paste.
Compelling.
And don't you forget it. Anytime we want, we can bring you back here in these and do that, and we'll be glad to do it.
Please don't.
Our servants have developed a taste for the stuff, so don't even think about it.
Okay, you've made a good solid point. What's your task?
You are to venture to the land below, the land beneath us, literally and figuratively, to return to us our finest agent. His name is Evanescent Lemuel, and he has ventured into mines in the wasteland below to seek supplies and riches for us, and has yet to return. This mine is full of filthy aberrations, no doubt eager to feast on Lemuel and his brave companions. Bring Lemuel back here safely, and you will be returned to your places of origin. Eventually.
Okay, sounds like a daring caper. I'm all for it, whatever the hell figuratively means.
And if you don't do it in a few hours or days, at some point, we will teleport you back here and we'll do that.
Oh, I don't think Pitch would like that very much at all.
Why are you the only one talking? Normally you people talk all the time, begging for your life, saying things like, why? Oh, why me?
I didn't think there was much point.
Yes, I didn't want to interrupt or be rude to gracious
Silence!
Yeah, nobody likes a
First
wiser.
you weren't talking, now you're talking too much.
Sorry. Very sorry.
This is boring. Go away. She taps something on the podium in front of her, and the glass cases start to slide downwards, to glide gently through the thick rock of the island and then out into the open space below it. You can see the wasteland far below you, and it takes almost 10 minutes to complete the journey downwards, which ends with the cases opening and making odd little beeping noises, which seem to indicate that you should exit into the landscape you find yourself in, one of oddly jagged, rocky chasms. Is that what we're doing? Are we playing ball with what the glass cases seem to want from you?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I will scurry out of the case.
Yes, I'll.
Pitch, hand me those pittons. You were very useless in the critical moment. You embarrassed us in front of our two.
My lord, I nearly died.
Yeah, you're always saying stuff like that, Pitch. But we all are nearly dead. Greatness awaits only those who seize it and get all of the money and gold in the world. Yes, Pitch, yes. Yes, we shall be great kings so long as we can find this evanescent Lemuel fellow, who I'm sure is just a bit lost. Anyway, hand me those damn pittance.
My lord, I nearly suffocated on your haunches.
Again, this is not the first time, Pitch, you have complained of such a thing.
A moment, I beg of you.
I'm just going to turn to look at the other one, Turner, and just sort of raise an eyebrow. Like,
Turmarin looks at you, shocked and afraid.
You can all see. I'll describe the area in a bit more in a second, but you can all see that there are two more things gliding gently down from the island above. One of them is the fourth glass case, which comes to a halt alongside your others. The front door of it swings open, and it just kind of tips forward, and there's a kind of slushy, splatty sound as it empties itself onto the wasteland. And the other thing is a much smaller glass case, which has kind of glided down nearby and now come to a halt nearby you. The door of it kind of springs open as if it's spring-loaded, and inside seems to be a small metal orb of some kind with a blinking blue light. It's kind of hovering in the middle of the glass case.
well, I think Myrtle will sigh. I really was hoping to avoid any sort of adventure this week. And head to the small glass case and examine this orb and try to determine what it is.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Even just with just a little looking on it, you can see that, like I say, there's like a blinking blue light that seems to have a little like screen panel just below it. And as you sort of kind of hold it, the little screen panel blinks up with like a red cross, but it's not like it's sort of like a cartoonish little red cross, like a kind of almost like a little emote kind of like situation of it, and then that blinks off. But feel free to give me a mental roll. Do you think there's anything that might give you an advantage in your traits or your assets?
I don't think so.
Figuring out the workings of this weird device.
I mean, my motivation is discover a truth, so whether that helps me sort of.
Do you not have one that's like inventor or something?
Well, no, that was kind of
Okay.
that was just backstory. That was
That's just
me
the
inventing
backstory. Okay. No problem.
But it kind of came from this discover a truth. And
Okay.
defrauded a
Well,
truth.
let's sure. Let's just have it flat then. Let's just have a flat one.
I rolled a 9.
Okay. You're pretty sure this is some kind of tracking device. And you realize that as you kind of like walk around with it a little bit and notice that if you walk to the left of where you got bundled out, every 30 seconds it pops up with a little cartoony green tick. And if you shuffle back to the right, every 30 seconds it pops up with a little red cross. You also suspect that the blinking light is like would blink faster closer to the target, but you're so relatively not closer that you can't tell the difference right now. But otherwise, it just seems like a little tracking device to you.
Well, I'll hold it up. Well, hello, I suppose. My name is Myrtle. This seems to be some sort of tracking device to find whoever it was we were supposed to find. Should we get this over with? Who are you? What? Why are you so elongated?
Well, look,
It could be either of you.
he was clearly talking to me, and I walk over to Termeron and I sort of start, like, in a really not at all subtle way, kind of like try and stand up really tall and like compare heights. It's really obvious that that's what I'm doing.
Termeron does not rise to this occasion.
I wasn't always this tall. I drunk something I probably shouldn't have.
I love that as an introductory line. I wasn't always this tall or this handsome.
No, I was always this handsome. I came out exactly as handsome as I am right this moment. And my face kind of like parts of my face are currently like swimming over it and like in a disconcerting changeling kind of way. My name's Ferrous Charm, and this here, and I slap Pitch on the back. He's just stood up, having recovered, but nearly recovered from his traumatic ordeal, and he falls on the floor. Is Pitch. My hired companion.
Well, I wasn't always this tall. I did used to be a
Brother?
child.
It's just a greeting now. It's just the opening greeting line.
We all were not this tall. I wasn't always this tall.
Greetings. Matter is mutable. Now, to introduce myself.
I'm Termeron Meek. Sorry.
You've nothing to apologize for, unless you do, in which case, tell us.
Sorry.
He's a secretive one, this.
What? No, I have no secrets. How dare you? I am just a normal scholar of otherworldly and this worldly matters.
I visibly relax when you say that. Oh, for a second there, I thought that wasn't the case. Right. Where do you reckon we can find this evanescent fellow? I don't want to turn into that. And I indicate, and I point accidentally, like, to Pitch. And then I adjust myself, and I point to the slurry.
A bubble in the slurry pops as he does so. Let me describe your environment a bit more, right? So, as I say, you're on the wasteland surface of GROK. It's as I said, it's like oddly jagged, rocky chasms, like little teeth of rock springing up here and there, and odd like lines of chasms that seem weirdly shaped, like splitting the landscape. None of them are more than like maybe 3 feet or so in width, so you can easily kind of like hop over them, but they're just quite odd. Somewhere in the sort of near distance, you can hear a very loud booming noise, and over the top of some nearby jagged ridges, you can see kind of very bright flashing lights of something happening in that direction.
I assume that this looks like the ground rather than an island.
Yeah, you're definitely on the surface of GROK, such as it is.
Does
it's a very open air mine?
I'll have been sort of wandering around again, trying to get the a direction from the tracker, and I'm presuming that it's leading in the direction of the loud booming, etc. Is that?
Well, you know what? It's not leading away from there, but it also doesn't seem to be like that. Seems to be in the general direction. You're pretty sure that's not exactly where it's leading you.
Well, I suppose, curiosity. I'll start sort of wandering absent-mindedly, yes, towards a kind of following half the tracker and half the noise, half the lights, sort of see what's going on.
Absolutely.
Keep an eye out for anything that wants to eat us, because that's bound to happen. It's
always good. Termaron and Ferris, are you happy to follow Myrtle and the little tracking device? Well, you're kind of deviating from that for the moment, but yeah.
As the only one who looks like he knows what he's currently doing, I will scurry along behind Myrtle.
I pick up Pitch and under my arm and start carrying him towards the Myrtle and Termaron agglomeration.
Sure. Myrtle, I want you to give me, and it's your choice, either a physical or a mental roll, so it'll be a mental one. To basically, I want you to. This is you can definitely find what's making the noise and the light. What I want to do is see how kind of sneakily you do so, right? So you can either do it physically by like reflexes and ducking around, or mentally by just being cautious. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'll definitely go for the mental one. I think I'll be trying to find rock formations or a pathway that can act as cover.
Yeah. It inherently comes with a disadvantage, which you'll realize why when I tell you what it is. But if you want to argue for any kind of advantage, then go ahead.
I don't think I've got anything at this point that would.
That's fair.
That's an advantage. Let me go. I'll just roll the same die twice, just to be okay. That was a 5, and the second roll was a 2.
Well then, you stumble out. You're basically following this little like ridge that you first saw the lights kind of flashing behind, and you kind of round the end of it and kind of like, I will dash forward to the next ridge or jagged kind of edge of rock, only to find yourself in a relatively vastly open, like on the rim of a huge crater, a crater which has those spines and jags of rock, but like because it's going down, you are just standing there like staring out over it. It also has the same chasms in it, and you know why there are chasms now, because ahead of you, in the center of this crater, there is what appears to be a colossal city on unimaginably huge gorilla-like limbs of metal plates and huge ribbed plastic cables that is lurching over the area. Many of the buildings on it have kind of like huge spotlight style, like roaming lights of like in red and white and blue, kind of panning over the landscape. The booming noise is those huge, like I said, like sort of gorilla-like, like knuckle feet, whatever, like slamming into the ground. And at the very base of the construction of these things, where it's where those limbs meet, there is a blinding white laser-like flare emerging from the closest point to the ground, seemingly carving these trenches and chasms into the landscape with a violent cracking sound. You got no idea why. You got no idea if this city is inhabited. You've just got no clue. Fortunately, the tracker does not seem to be leading directly to this. But neither do you want to be near it when it goes bounding over with that weird laser flare thing cracking open the ground beneath it. Or indeed under the massive limbs.
Yeah, well, I think so. There'll be a moment of Myrtle, like silhouetted on the top of this ridge, looking kind of like a meerkat.
Do you see anything?
I think as well as the booming from the limbs, I think it also makes a kind of like, War of the Worlds style, like muted, maybe slightly klaxony, like noise as it's like moving around.
Yes, I do see something, and no, I don't think we should go that way. Come on. And I'll just sort of duck down and scurry away.
I'm assuming, because these like spotlights and these bright lights from this weird colossal mechanical gorilla city are like panning over the landscape as we do so. It doesn't seem to be particularly looking for you or like, coming towards you intentionally. It is moving around. But should I make a rough guess that we are trying to stay out of this thing's attention?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That seems sensible. Well, why don't each of you tell me what you are doing to facilitate that, and then make a roll, to do with that. And how about we go with, let's go with Ferrous Charm first. What do you think Ferrous Charm is doing to avoid the attentions of this rogue megalopolis?
I think I am removing most of my clothes, giving them to Pitch, and then relying on the fact that I am semi-translucent to which I'm convinced is basically invisible, but like isn't.
Sure.
To attempt to stealth my way, to sneak my way past.
Sure, absolutely, and by wonderful coincidence, also making Pitch more visible.
Yes, Pitch. I'm sending out first, and then I'm like sneaking on behind.
And he's got like all your clothes like, bundled up, and it's kind of like, oh,
Pitch. This is going to be one of those times where you have to run really fast.
Okay, is your translucence one of your aspects?
It is a trait, yes. It is one of my semi-translucent.
Okay, then go ahead. I'll obviously argue for anything else, but roll with one advantage then, unless there's something else you want to add in there.
I mean, the only other thing I have is an X-ray monocle, which I guess might be able to see through things, so I don't have to like.
You don't need that.
Yeah, it's enormous.
Thing. Yeah.
So
it's a minor miracle of storytelling that you didn't see it as soon as you landed.
Yeah. Okay, and I was being more distracted by the big compression. So I just rolled 2 dice. And that is 2 11s. So that is, yeah,
Ooh.
majestic success. So maybe that could be like pitch is okay as well.
Sure. Yeah, that's how you want to use that one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can go with
Pitch
that.
is fine.
Yeah. No, that's good. Pitch is making, and maybe this is where the name comes from. Pitch is making a very high pitched, like sort of noises. He's like dodging and weaving between as fast as his little legs will take him.
I think before I did all this, I was like, sort of imagining that I was looking really cool. I was like, watch this. And then I stripped off and like pitch right carried along.
Yeah, just kind of watch this. Jesus.
Ugh.
Doing it again. So next up, Steve, how is Myrtle Skyclark escaping
right.
any attention?
Well, I think I am wearing sort of sackcloth robes, which are kind of, I'm hoping, might act as some sort of camouflage. I'll perhaps try to get myself low to the ground, you know, do a Lord of the Rings sneaky cloak thing, only with crap sackcloth, and sort of scuttle away, trying to remain low to the ground and unobserved.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, I think, you know, like, I'm going to just judge that. Sure, the rocks around are roughly the same color as the sackcloth. I'm happy for this to do it. And presumably you're happy to roll physical.
Yes.
Don't forget, by the way, folks, that we can use effort to give ourselves a condition to double our dice rolls. So, you know what I mean, to roll 2 dice.
Would the robes count? Would that give me an advantage, or am I rolling?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that's
okay.
fine.
Well, if it's advantage, I'll just roll 2, and I rolled a 4 and a 5.
There we go.
So
5 gives you the success. You managed to, you know, hunch over slightly awkwardly and sort of. People are talking about Zoidberg in the chat, and you know you're kind of crabbing your way around here. Trying to get out of the range of this thing. Terma and Meek, how about you?
I was going to try and use the brain method of like
The brain method.
predicting the path that it might take and then avoiding that path.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Have you got any kind of aspects that might help you with that?
I don't think I do.
That's fine. Then just give me a straight mental roll.
I think I might take a condition, though, or put in effort.
Right.
I don't think I want to get squished or lasered.
Sure. Yeah. And what condition do we think? How about sensitivity to noises and light? You're spooked by this thing.
Yeah,
like
a sensory sensitivity, nervous, terror.
Yes,
my everyday
absolutely.
life.
Yeah.
My first roll was a 2. My second roll was a 3.
Hey, the lowest roll 2 rolls you could have made and succeeded. Termaran with a little bit of, you know, clever forethought and not a little bit of absolutely bewildered, anxious terror. You managed to sort of like dash between outcroppings of rock and so on and so forth and move around in a fashion where these... Yeah, survive. You used effort, right?
Oh,
so you roll 2 dice and add them together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Got it.
So you move through the landscape kind of like, you know, ducking at the right time, running forward at the right time, and so on and so forth. It matters not to you that the thing is basically over on the other side of the far crater now and wasn't really heading in your direction to begin with. You've still done it, and that's something to be proud of, although the sounds and sights of this thing will haunt your dreams. So, Yeah, you're moving through this the landscape further away from this thing. Is there any kind of like activity we want to do, or any chatter we want to engage in as we do so? And the landscape is slowly, like the rocks and the chasms are kind of fading away a bit, and the ground seems to be a bit softer underfoot as you're making your way forward with the regular 30-second little celebratory parp of this green tick flashing up on the orb.
So what the hell
No.
is that? Your blue orb.
I presume it's a tracking device. It's
Oh yes, I know exactly what a tracking device is. Oh, I remember back in my day, we used to use tracking devices all the time.
Did you know?
Yes. You mentioned earlier you're a man of letters. I think of myself as a bit of a reader myself also. You don't happen to have a sample of your finest materials?
Well, I do have a collection of manuscripts I've been writing over the years.
My lord, I can read you one like I usually do if that's what you want.
Shh, bitch. You're making me look bad in front of this loser.
I will flick through the ones that I've got, and I spent a happy hour earlier on writing a selection of titles. Well, perhaps this one might be to your
Do you have any
taste.
that might help me sleep? The night terrors, you see. Us gentlemen always.
Us gentlemen always have night terrors.
Oh well, I think I've got two. One reads, the title is "Why Things Are Only Destined to Get Worse Over Time: A Scientific Explanation," and the other one is "Your Life Might Be Painful, Brutal, and Short, but at least you can read."
Oh, yes, the second one for sure.
You see, like on the cover, my lord, do you remember Y for yo-yo, O for orange?
Those things I definitely do remember. Pitch. And I grab it and I give it to Pitch. Okay, this one's for tonight.
Huge Charlie from Always Sunny vibes from this character.
Could I, as a learned man of some sciences, may I have the first one, please? If it's not too much trouble, please.
I suppose so. These might be the last that I give out if we fail in our mission. So yes, why not?
We are 3 learned men. Yes.
I take the pamphlet and I slide it into the front of a heavy pseudo-physics textbook that I pull out the book pocket of my robe, slide it into the front cover, and then put it back.
Oh, you have a book pocket. That is excellent.
It's a scholar's robe. Of course I have a book pocket.
My sackcloth robes have a breast pocket for pens.
And that's the only. That's it.
Does Ferris's clothes have a book pocket, Pierre?
Ferris's clothes definitely. Well, actually, regardless of whether they do have a book pocket or not, it's not being used for books. Pitch is the one who carries the books.
But I can imagine perhaps the next time Ferris is near a tailor, he he will want to get a book pocket.
Yeah, all of the learned gentlemen.
To give the correct impression that he is a man of letters.
Words.
A man of letters who definitely doesn't have to ask Pitch where the toilet is.
Yes, definitely not. I go
a genuine question. What does Ferris use his pockets for? Because currently, Pitch has carried literally everything, every item that you have described as owning.
Are you a man of means?
No.
Well, then I don't think you could afford what I have. And I tuck in the bit of sting squid lava skin that I've been keeping back into the pocket, and it kind of squelches.
It squelches, and the pocket starts to hiss slightly.
And like a black stain is spreading.
I suppose we should be grateful that you got dressed again.
Yes. I mean, we don't know who this evanescent Lemuel fellow is. He might gawk if we look inappropriate. He might not trust us to come with.
As you're proceeding forwards now, I said that the kind of footing was getting softer and the land was kind of flattening out. And before long, you find yourself in an expanse of foul-smelling liquid in greens and browns and disgusting reds, bubbling and with spires of visible fumes rising from the surface. Although handily, no matter how much pressure or weight is put upon the surface of this revolting liquid, you can't seem to sink into it, even though in places it is clear enough to see that it has a few feet of depth, and weird squirming things are living their horrible lives down there. It is, despite the kind of like general unpleasantness of this area, it is a lot more light here, which is mixed news, because on the one hand, it's easy to navigate. On the other hand, you are out from under the shadow of the island floating above you, which means you are susceptible to the rays of radiation flowing down from the simulacrum untold miles above from where you are. So it might be a good idea to form some kind of barrier between yourselves and this light, some kind of cover or shade. And I'm more than happy to again open it up to see how maybe there's a solution that fits for the whole group, or maybe each of you wants to do something in the same way you tried to avoid the spotlights. It's up to you.
So the area is relatively open.
It's relatively open, yeah. There are a few horrible, nasty little grotty plants every now and then, but mostly you're just walking along seemingly the surface of this feet-deep water.
I mean, I think the most plausible thing for me to do is to try to hold up Pitch and use him as a barrier against the radiation. And put my cloak around him, I guess. My big cape.
Perhaps he could kind of piggyback on you and then wear the cape and kind of spread his arms out as a kind of mobile
tent.
Yeah. I see no reason why that, other than basic human decency, why why that shouldn't be done.
Ferris, I have to ask.
Yes.
How much you paying him?
It is to be determined. Pro rata, you see. Pro rata.
I have been meaning to ask.
Yep. And what have I said every time? Pro rata.
Well, that actually isn't what you've said every time, my lord. Most of the time you just kind of look off into the distance with a sort of wistful and meaningful expression until I stop asking.
By the end of that sentence, I was looking up into the distance wistfully.
kind of what Ferris' impression of heroic. Yeah.
A world of adventure awaits us all.
Well, Ferris' solution. Ferris' solution certainly doesn't cover the others, so let's just have Ferris roll for his own, please. And that's going to be a physical roll for like carrying Pitch for a long distance, right? Have you got any advantages you want to?
I mean, is Pitch himself the advantage? His willingness.
Well, He's kind of the disadvantage because he weighs as much as him. But I'm not counting it as a disadvantage. But I
mean, I have a trait of boisterous. I have no idea.
I wouldn't say so necessarily.
Yeah. Maybe I can like reinforce my skeleton by being a changeling. Maybe that's the thing. I can.
Fucking go on then.
Yeah.
You want it enough, you know?
I do.
Like, so go for
You
it.
hear a disturbing crunch as my skeletal reforms in some way. Let's see whether it's good. Is that one advantage?
Yeah.
That is 9.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely fine. You can carry pitch like this all day. As he mules slightly from the pain of extending his arms out for like minutes and minutes and minutes at a time.
The knees sort of fuse together so that they're more able to carry the weight.
Yeah, that's right. That's definitely what helps you carry heavy items. Having fused knee bones. Yeah. Notably, always fuck knees really help with carrying the load. How about the other two of you? What plans have you got to not bask in this radiation?
Meek looks up, sort of squints up at the light, cowers down a bit, and then calmly takes out his textbook on pseudophysics and opens it to page 134 and folds out the little flap for the diagram and then the fold over for the diagram and then moves a post-it note to along the side to basically just fold out as much paper as he can. It's a technique that he learnt when the simulacrum's fire suppression system malfunctions. So the text on the page is completely illegible. But I'm gonna fold that out and then hold it over my head like a giant scientific umbrella.
A man of science indeed. This advanced technique learned through under duress in the nightmare mechanical factory of the simulacrum, draping a big bit of paper over your head. Yeah, why don't you go ahead? It's going to be a mental roll, I'd say, to see whether you catch.
Choose one of those.
It's a terrible idea.
Make sure that you fold it outright, right?
Yeah, I'd say that it starts at a disadvantage because you're trying to block the nightmare primeval force of this constant battering radiation with a bit of paper. So I'd say that it's starting at a disadvantage. So have you got any advantages you want to take from your aspects in any way?
I mean, the fact that I have the textbook is an aspect.
Sure.
Isn't it? So does that count as...
Yeah, but an aspect doesn't automatically give you an advantage. Like...
in that case, no. No, pretty much nothing. Other than, like, my scholar robes, well, they cover most of me apart from, like, mid-shin downwards.
Okay. Yeah, again, you seem to want it, so let's just make it a flat roll.
Sure.
Desperation is an advantage.
I need to get a new set of dice out. That was a 3.
Cool.
My shins get very irradiated.
Yeah, let's have another condition of you of slightly irradiated, shall we?
Yeah.
I should ask, as a mechanical thing, how does one get rid of conditions?
You just need to do an action that I agree will get rid of it. Successfully, obviously.
And I mean, irradiated shins is definitely one of those things that just any old action could get rid of, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Well, why don't you just use a bit of paper?
Yeah.
Just rub it with paper, that'll do.
Yeah.
You know, it's worth a shot.
Sure.
If you're desperate enough.
What do you think this is? Troika? Think I'm going to let you block radiation with paper? Not in this hard science Steve, what is Myrtle Sky Clark up to?
Well, you
John's
know,
deeply offended.
Paper does block radiation of certain types.
Of course,
this is
mean,
true.
It blocks. I mean, yeah, it blocks light.
Yeah,
It does not
Mostly.
tend to block. That's why in
no.
Chernobyl they didn't like drape themselves in
Papier mâché it.
to,
Yeah.
Is it alpha particles that are blocked by? Is it? I can't remember if it's alpha or beta particles that are blocked
Is out
by.
okay.
it is. Alpha is blocked by almost everything,
Right.
but also
It's
has
just
a very
everything
short
dense
distance,
enough, right?
so it wouldn't reach here anyway. Beta particles, I think, are at least limited by most things, and also have a longer range. Gamma radiation,
Turns you into the
it
Hulk.
would be affected minutely because
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah,
sort
I
of
mean,
everywhere.
this is radiation that horribly mutates stuff below it. So I think we can safely
Yeah.
say it's at least akin to gamma radiation, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So Myrtle will be, look at Ferris and look at Pitch, and sort of, don't want to say anything, but that's not great. Turmarin with his book hat, it's not ideal.
Getting burned.
Yeah, burnt shins. So again, I think Myrtle will turn to his material transmuter and look around. And you said there were sort of bits of greenery and stuff like that.
Yeah, like horrible crap little plants.
Yeah. So Myrtle is going to go around collecting leaves and transmute them into lead.
Sure.
And
Sure.
sort of get little lead leaves and sort of stitch them onto his robes as best he can, like some sort of scale mail.
Sure. Nice. I like it.
Well, that's going to be heavy.
Okay.
It's going to be heavy.
I think that's going to be a bit of a dual roll there, I think.
Oh,
So let's have a mental roll first, because we said to use the transducer we do
Yeah.
like a mental roll, right? And I don't think the last time we did it was just kind of flat, right? Was that the idea?
yes.
Yeah.
Let's see how that goes. Oh God, that was a 4.
Okay. Let me random word beginning with L. Words that start with L. Random word that starts with L. That's not a random word website. That's a list of words.
List begins with L.
It does. Let me just.
Lemon.
Okay, this is actually quite good.
should have expended effort.
Number. Random number 1 to 100. Hold on, folks. This is. I'm just doing a thing here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, that's an adjective. That doesn't work.
Go for the next one down.
The next one down. Okay. Myrtle Skyclark, you are now holding a great number of small logs.
I mean, you could build a small house out here.
I mean, you can try and hold a log over your head. It can't be worse than a book page.
It might
It's
actually be
probably
better.
denser. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try to lash some of these logs together with some, torn bits of sackcloth robe, and then
Hold a
suffer
little raft over your head. Sure.
suffer the ignominy of walking around holding a log platform above your head.
Sure. I don't think you need to roll mental to put that together, but I would like you to roll physical to hold a big chunky log raft over your head as you walk along.
Well, I think this time I will expend effort.
Sure.
So I'll roll 2 d6s, and I rolled 2 5s. So that's a total score of 10.
Okay. Well then, I'm going to say that I'm just going to straight up cancel the condition you get from the effort, right? Because at first you feel it's quite you feel quite strained, and then as you walk along, kind of like resting up in there, you actually feel that you're getting a bit of a better like workout than you've had in quite some time, and maybe you should consider doing this on a regular basis.
I love it. Excellent.
And the wood seems thick enough that it protects you from the radiation coming down overhead, although maybe the ends of your fingers are getting a bit toasty. Yeah,
I think
generally a good time.
In general, I think you can decide to use effort after the roll, because it's phrased as re-roll the attribute dice and add it to your previous thing.
Right.
So I'm
okay.
That's worth
I
knowing.
assume that what
That's
it
worth
is
knowing.
you roll it, you go, oh no, and then you go, I'm going to push myself.
That's definitely worth knowing. Cool. So making your way through this swamp, this weightless, toxic swamp with these impromptu coverings, you as you're walking forwards, Myrtle, you can see that the little tick on the tracking device is kind of like it keeps coming up. That little blue light keeps it's noticeably flashing faster than it was before now. And as you walk through the swamp, you hear from somewhere ahead of you, amongst the filth and the squatting, horrible plants, you hear a beeping noise start up. Maybe only about, you maybe guess, like 20 feet or so ahead of you in the murk.
Okay. Is this? Do they sound paired? Is it sort of similar to the beeping that?
No, it's not like,
Sure.
what would be the word? Synchronized. It's not like synchronized with it or anything like that.
Well, I'll call out to the others that there's something over there. Can anybody make out what it is? I can hear beeping. And yes, I'll kind of shuffle closer.
Sure. It is quite murky here, so someone's gonna have to get quite close if they want to see what the beeping noise is.
Well, don't worry, it might be dangerous in there. I've got just the thing. And then I turn to Pitch, and I say, "You've got those torches?"
My lord, I'm holding up the cloak.
Yep. This is gonna have to be a fast operation. You're gonna have to go over there with one of your torches. I'll let you down. We're both gonna have to deal with whatever radiation comes our way. You carry that torch and let us know what's over there.
Pitch sort of nods with resignation, kind of half scrambles down your body and then falls off completely. Collapses on the surface of this swampy water, kind of like howling a bit, and kind of like his arms like aren't really working, and it lowers them down. He starts crying.
There, Pitch. Now get up and run.
He tries to get up, but his arms are like almost like curled to his chest in like the pain of having held them up for about an hour or so, and he kind of like tries to use them to stand up and then collapses onto the ground and the crying intensifies.
Okay, we're gonna have to do this together. I pick up in one hand one of the torches and in the other hand Pitch, and we go into the darkness.
Sure, absolutely. As you walk into the murk ahead of you, the beeping noise continues, and you now hear a clearly recorded mechanical voice saying, "Warning, warning, intruders approaching. All staff, warning. Attention, warning." As you take a couple of steps closer, you see a structure flat on the surface of the swamp, completely flush with the surface of the liquid. It seems to be a large metal barn door. It has certain kind of runic inscriptions on the front of it. But I think we have established that Ferris does
He's a man
not
of
know what they
letters.
say.
He's a man of letters.
Not these letters. Just not
well,
these letters.
You say that. I'm going to walk up and say, I think this says enter. And I'm going to try and push open this door.
Okay. Well, the door just straight up opens. It straight up opens, like kind of up off the ground. As I say, the rim of it is like flush with the surface of the water of the swamp, but none of the water kind of like runs down. It just opens up to reveal a rough stone tunnel leading downwards at a relatively steep angle, with a sort of battered but stable corrugated metal sheet to walk downwards on. There are flickering electric lights on the ceiling of the tunnel, so it just leads down to the ground. Looks like maybe a mine. Kind of fits the description. Maybe.
Is the warning still coming over the sound system?
Yeah. But nothing seems to be happening.
I'm going to shuffle over to the speaker, furtively look around, and as I would sometimes do in order to create an amount of privacy up in my home, I take out my EMP baton and hold it to the speaker and zap it.
Okay. Given that it's a baton, is the primary method of application a good sharp whack?
Yeah, I think it's like a stab. Yes, either a whack or like a poke.
Like, is it a baton like baton, or is it a baton like hold it out and twiddly bits at the end go? You know what I mean? Like, are we talking a Men in Black forget device, or are we talking forget device?
I was thinking as like another channel callback. Do you remember the weapon that Arthur Norris had in London Ascendant?
Sean, I don't remember who Arthur Norris is. Yes, I do.
Harsh. Wow.
That's fair.
Who Arthur is.
Stun stick.
Yeah, like a stun stick. I imagine, like in Tamaron's head, it's like a wand, but it's much like a zappy stick.
Thwack it and set off a little electromagnetic pulse.
Yes,
sure. I don't think you need to roll for that. I think that's absolutely fine. And I didn't even think about where the speaker was, but let's say it's on a little pole coming out from the side of the these doors. You thwack it, there's a buzzing noise, and it kind of like, warning.
Sounds like the danger's gone away.
Ferris, there's a rationale for this. Did you, when you open the doors, did you open one door? You can there's easily room enough to walk down into the tunnel if you open one door. Did you open both of them?
Were they pull or push?
You'll pull.
Okay. I think I'm a two-door kind of guy.
Yeah, sure.
Rah.
Okay. So that means that by the time Terman and Myrtle arrive to go down behind you, they definitely don't have the opportunity to read what's written on the front.
Don't worry, I read. It said enter.
Okay.
All is safe.
So I take it the party goes in. Do you close the doors behind you? The last person, either Terman or Myrtle,
I'm not
right?
The last one.
I reckon it's probably Terman bringing up the rear, right? He's a little perfectly reasonable scholar.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll close the doors behind us because you always want to cover your tracks.
Absolutely. Then there we go. Down you go into the mine, and I'm sure nothing bad will come of it. And there we go. Let's take a break, folks. They're around the right time for taking a break. So we will be back in about 10 minutes to continue our journey into GROK. Have fun for that amount of time, and not a second more. Bye.
Bye.